my mindset is just totally different than it was 4 or 5 years ago. Right. And it's just hugely important because, the saying goes garbage in, garbage out. Right. Well, you can lighten that up and you can put lipstick on the pig, but basically if the stuff that's going in your ears and in your eyes is not putting you in a position to further yourself as a real estate investor or whatever it is the case may be, it's garbage. It doesn't need to be there. Right. I am, and some people think I'm a little crazy about this, but I am sold on the fact that if it doesn't have to do with real estate investing or building a business, I don't want to waste my time being around it.
Welcome to Real Estate Deal Closers with Anette, Talie, where we focus on the deals. Our guests are real estate closers who will share in detail the whole process from finding a deal to closing it, as well as strategies and tips to help you do the same. Here's your host, Anette, Talie.
Welcome. This is Real Estate Deal Closers. I am your host, Anette, Talie, and this is my guest, Jay Helms.
And Good evening, everybody.
Yes, and I was telling everybody, how excited I was to have Jay on this podcast today, celebrating more than 50 episodes. And so let me introduce you, Jay, and tell you a little bit about him. He is the founder of the W2 Capitalist community. He spent 20 years in corporate America, climbing the corporate ladder, trying to become rich and wanting to build, to build wealth. He discovered real estate and used it to build generational wealth while focusing on his family and producing multiple streams of incomes, all while excelling at his W2 job. After 6 years of actively investing, he has accumulated 328 units in his portfolio, left the W2 world, and has more time to focus on raising his 3 amazing and beautiful kids. So welcome, Jay.
Thank you, Annette. I really appreciate that intro. There's a few things that need to be up. We just went updated. We just went full cycle on one of our apartment complexes, which was incredible to do. So our numbers dropped, but the good thing is I got a huge load of cash that now I got to figure out what to do with, right? I got to go put it to work and see if it can go find some friends and bring them back. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. I am super honored to have you. And so I want you to share with people, how did you get into real estate?
Oh, man. Like everybody else, I started watching HGTV and seeing these, butterfly farmers on with a $2 million budget, flip these homes and do all this stuff. And I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. Right. It's easy. But that's really, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. We were talking about this through the Marco Polo chat that we have going on, and how, even in middle school, that I was selling blow pops out of my high school or middle school locker just to earn a couple extra bucks until I got busted by I think it was the vice principal that busted me. I didn't like her. She didn't like me. We called her the silver bullet. But anyway, yeah. So, always had an entrepreneurial spirit and never really could get anything to take off the ground while working full time as far as starting up other businesses and trying to figure out things to do. I've owned several businesses, and as I kept studying and really what helped me is, I can't remember who told me this, but they said, you should worry about the opinions of people who you want to be in their shoes one day. Right. And I'm like, all right, well, I want to be a millionaire, I guess. Let's just say I want to be a millionaire. And then I started looking at, all right, what do millionaires do to make their money? They either start a business, they're a doctor, which let's cut that out. That's not in me. Or most of them invested in real estate. Right. And I'm like, all right, how do we figure this out? Let's go do this. And that's really what got started, kind of the bug between that entrepreneurial spirit and really seeing what was happening on HGTV, which they don't show you all the stuff that happens and don't get into market cycles. A lot of people don't know my very first dab in real estate investing, I bought a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It was a 1958 build, never had been touched since then. And I was single at the time. I was going to live in it and I was going to flip. It's going to be my first live-in flip. Right. So that happened in 2006. And now we all know just what the market did. Right. So I ended up holding on to that property for a long time. And when I say a long time, it was a little over 8 years. I had moved out. We had moved, that was in Birmingham, Alabama, where we lived at the time. I had moved out. We moved down to the coast where we're at now in Pensacola, and thinking, all right, I got a rental property. It's generating some cash flow, blah, blah, blah. I'm on my way. Right. And then I learned how to properly calculate cash flow, because I was just seeing, all right, here comes the rent check. I wasn't actually looking at taxes and insurance and all this other stuff. And the house was in it was not a Class A property, but it was in a Class A neighborhood. Right. So I thought I was doing well. And then I learned about this whole term and how to properly calculate cash flow. And I was like, wow, I am losing $300 a month by holding on to this property.
Wow.
I got to get rid of this thing. Right. And so I called my realtor who I was using at the time, and he said, look, unless you have some cash to bring to closing, you're going to have to hold on to it for a while. I was like, okay. So every February I would call him, and the story was the same story every year for a few years. And he said, okay, now you can probably get away without taking anything to close or bringing anything to closing. We actually walked away with a little over 40,000 in equity, but by no means on paper. When you put everything we put into it, at the end of the day, we lost a lot of money. Right. And I don't actually know the number. I probably should go back and figure that out. If it could be painful. That could be a painful exercise. But I just, I realized that, all right, there is a way to do this. And then and that was not it. That was not the way to do it. But we did take that 40,000 in equity and went and bought a 1-bedroom, 1-bath foreclosure here in Pensacola. $23,000 purchase price. We put $9,000 into it, and it rented right away for $600. Right. So we went, and the way we calculated cash, we didn't have a mortgage on that property, but the way we calculated cash flow with all the vacancy and CapEx and things that we were going to expect to spend in the future, we were cash flowing about $300 to $400 a month, right? Depending on the month. So I'm sitting back and thinking, okay, the improper way to do it, we're losing $300 a month. The way we're doing it now, we're earning $300 a month. So that was a $600 a month shift in our income, right? I was like, all right, this is the way to do it. And we want to talk about the mastermind, or being part of a mastermind. Is I didn't necessarily have people in the beginning, like HGTV was my mastermind, which is horrible to say, because I was looking at the things. I was like, I'm pretty handy. I know how to do some of the stuff they're talking about. I can just do it and I'll earn some money. And no, I needed a group. And of course, at that time, I didn't even know what a mastermind was, and I'm like, if I knew about masterminds and knew about RIAs and things of that sort of thing, I would be in a much different spot today. Right.
Absolutely. And that was one of the things that really changed my trajectory when I, joined the community, was starting to network and, attending meetups, and eventually starting to lead one of the meetups that I was attending. And it was part of one of the challenges that I had in the group. It's like, okay, what are you doing next week? Okay, you need to go to a meetup. And that was, one of the tasks that I have. So let's start. I love the story you had. You were thinking that you were making money, and then once you did the numbers, then you realize, oh, I'm not making money.
Real Estate Deal Closers, Special Edition.
So the topic today is my best kept secret and how to grow as an investor in 2021. And even though it's not a secret, but I think a lot of people don't know that I am part of your community and your mastermind. And that
We should
has
change that.
well, I have to say, I tell a lot of people about
Yeah, I
your
know you do. I'm just
mastermind.
messing
And
with you.
yeah, so it is not really a secret, but not everybody asks me that, or it doesn't come up on every conversation. But let's talk about how to grow in 2021 as an investor. So what
Yeah.
would you say is the best way we can grow in 2021 as an investor?
Yeah, and I could easily answer that with one word: mastermind. And for the record, I think everybody needs to be part of two masterminds and have it ongoing, right? So that's something you have every week, every month, whatever the case is. And then at least once a year for a 90-day window, everybody needs to hire a coach, right? But let's kind of talk about what a mastermind is, because even though there's a definition out there, they're all run differently, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of folks, and I hear this from a lot of members that come in, they're like, how um I love the W2 Capitalist Mastermind because it's not just one person standing up on a perch and preaching and teaching every week. It's every week everybody's on the hot seat, right? And talking about what they've done and what they've accomplished and what they should have accomplished. And so masterminds are a lot of what I do is based off the ones that I've been in the past. And we have evolved that over time, right? You've been very influential in saying, hey, why don't we try this? And you filled in for times when I was not able to be there to lead the calls, and they went really well. We're like, all right, let's do it this way for a while. So it's an ever evolving thing. And Cindy's here. Cindy, I'm giving her credit. I don't think she's the one that said this, but talking about having an REI family, right? And that's really what it's grown into, is an REI family that just wants to see you succeed. But masterminds all are across the board are all ran differently, and they all have different perspectives. Like one of the rules that we have that I am, y'all know this, I'm a pretty much of a stickler on it, is that when somebody asks a question, they're wanting to get feedback from it or on it, that you cannot answer with, I heard this on a podcast or read this in a book or I saw this on a post, right? It has to be based on your experience. It has to be based on something that you've went through. And if nobody on the calls went through, then we'll open it up a little bit and we'll kind of flex that rule a little bit. But we want to hear from people who have been through what you're asking about, right? And not all masterminds do that. Not all masterminds do that. Not all masterminds will you be on the hot seat every week or every time the mastermind happens. I know of a couple that I've been a part of in the past where it was a very small group, right? It was like 4 or 5 people. That way every week somebody else is on the hot seat. And we tried that form out for a little bit, I believe, and it just did not work because the feedback was pretty consistent. Hey, there's not a whole lot of participation when just one person gets to talk and one person's on the hot seat. So it's evolved from that. So all masterminds are not equal. People ask about, hey, why do you charge? Right? Why do you charge to come in a mastermind? There are free ones. There are definitely free ones out there. From my experience, because I tested a lot of them out. You pay for what you get, but I think if you're going to be part of a free mastermind, also be part of a paid one, right? Because something about the dollar figure is going to attract more people who are serious and really want to be part of helping you grow, and this is going to happen probably all night long. I completely just lost my train of thought.
So you were talking about how you get what you pay for, and I totally agree. I think I am one of the founding members, I can say, of the mastermind. I think we were one of the first members, and we were a different group when we started. I think we still have at least 3 or 4 members that are still part of the mastermind from the very beginning, and we have been seeing the transition. And to me, the value of it, I think we were meeting every 2 weeks at the beginning as well, and that changed into every week because we could see that our progress was being, I don't know if you can say tracked, but you forget what you did like 2 weeks ago, like
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
week is a commitment. Also, that, for me at least, my husband knows, Tuesday nights at 8 p.m., like don't plan anything because I'm not going. I will be on my call on the mastermind. And I made that commitment to make it a priority because to
Yeah.
me it's very important. And I think, that's one of the things that when you pay for something, you make it a priority.
Yeah.
When it's free,
No.
it's like, I go maybe. If I don't go, I'm not losing anything. When you are
Yep.
paying, you are losing money if you
You
don't
take it
attend.
more, and you take it more seriously, right? You definitely do that. You know, it's funny because when you are one of the original, and there's always this question between Jamie and Gwaith, who was the very first one to sign up, and I know the answer to that, and I'm taking that one to my grave because I like seeing these guys argue over it. But it's amazing to see the relationships that are built and happen outside of which is something I encourage, and not all masterminds that I've been a part of do that, right? And it's not welcome. And some of the other members talk about that who've been in other masterminds that they just don't. It's just one of those things. It's weird, that like you come here to get connected with the other people, right? Get connected, talk here. We're going to hold you accountable on the call, but then go engage with them outside of this. This is not, you don't have to do it right here on this Zoom transition or Zoom session. But yeah, it's, masterminds are funny in that way, that the accountability piece. And I love hearing this from folks that come in. I almost want to say every member in there has said this at least once so far, and they're like, that thing I was supposed to get done, I woke up this morning knowing we were having our call tonight, and guess what? That was going to be the first thing that I was going to do today to make sure I got it done. And it's just that whole accountability piece, right? And making sure. So if you're part of a mastermind that's not holding you accountable, then you're missing out, right? You need to have that accountability. To me, that's one of the biggest perks and biggest benefits of it. And it's almost kind of like you buy a gym membership and it comes with a personal trainer, right? And your personal trainer is sitting there saying, no, do 5 more. No, do 10 more. All right. By the next time we see you, I want to know that you've, ate this meals and you've stuck to this diet, right? Without that, you,
You
you
just
know,
don't show up.
you just don't show up. And and use that example right now with y'all and the 9 of us that are doing the 75 hard out of the mastermind members. If it weren't for y'all, I would already given up. I would already
I
tapped out and said,
agree.
you know what? I don't need to do this. I've lost the weight that I wanted to lose, or I'm halfway there. That's good enough for me because I really like to enjoy food. So, like for example, tonight I looked over to my wife and we had made spaghetti and for supper, and she goes, I don't know how to measure this out for your portions or whatnot. I was like, you know what? It's 7 o'clock or 6:30. I've had about 500 calories today. I think I'm okay. Let's just slop it on, but anyway, I'm not over my calorie count or my diet or whatever, but I was like, it just feels good to just slop some food on there and just go after it, not worry about any of that stuff. But anyway, we're going to finish it. Me and you and everybody else, we're going to finish it, and we're going to be better for it. At least that's what I keep telling myself.
We're only on day 20, guys, so
Yeah.
watch for us because you know today I'm missing my workout outside. And I didn't think about this today in the morning. I went and worked out at the gym, but like the hotel, I don't know, I'm not too sure about the surroundings here, and I have to do my workout outside, and I haven't done it yet, so it's gonna be done very late. And I was telling Ryan, I don't know, I think you're gonna have to come with me because I'm
He's
a
gonna have
little
to
bit
come. He's
scared
gonna
to
have
be
to come be your,
outside.
yeah, your spotter for sure.
Yeah, he has
You'll be
to
fine.
watch out for me. All right, so let's talk about surrounding yourself with like-minded people, because I think that's one of the
Yeah.
main mantras of a mastermind. And why is it so important?
Well, and I want to challenge everybody who's listening and watching, whatnot. If you were to sit down and I gave you 30 seconds to write down the 10 people that you spend the most time with, right, outside of your household, what do those people have in common with you? Right? Are they real estate investors? Do they like a certain TV show? Do you work with them? Right? I can say up until I I put it poetically as I exited the W-2, but honestly, I was laid off for COVID, right? During COVID. But but up until then, the only people that I hung out with outside of work or outside of the office was people that I worked with, right? Because that was some like-minded interest that bonded us together. But most of those folks, a vast majority, like 99% of them, didn't care to do anything about real estate investing, right? They they just didn't. They didn't think I could do it. They didn't want to be part of it. They thought, I don't know what they were thinking. They're just like, man, how do you do that? How do you rich or something? I'm like, no, I mean, you and I are at the same level. Like if you think I'm earning so much more money than you need to go talk to HR. But no, it's one of those things where when I was around that, and I started shifting this, after we found that first property, or that second property that actually cash flowed, I started looking at that and was like, okay, how do I change this? And I got involved in AREA, and just being around those folks uh, made me look at things differently. Right? I was no longer worried about what the stock market was going to do. I think the only year I've ever made money in stocks was last year. Everything else was either a break even or I just lost it. Right. And that's what those folks were interested in, because that's the world we grew up in. If you go to the office and you go to the bathroom, what do you hear on, we had speakers in the office bathrooms that were just pumping out CNBC or MSNBC, whatever the ticker symbol of the day was, and they were just talking about it. So all that stuff was always on our minds, but we weren't really making any money out of it, right? We weren't high enough up the food chain to figure out what was going to be the next big move when it came to stocks. And so, I kind of look at that and look about where I'm at now, and I'm surrounding myself with the W2 Capitalist Mastermind. And then there's folks outside of the W2 Capitalist Mastermind that are focused on building businesses and growing their real estate portfolio. Our conversations are just different, right? And my mindset is just totally different than it was 4 or 5 years ago, right? And it's just hugely important, because the saying goes, garbage in, garbage out, right? Well, you can lighten that up and you can put lipstick on the pig, but basically, if the stuff that's going in your ears and in your eyes is not putting you in a position to further yourself as a real estate investor, or whatever it is the case may be, it's garbage. It doesn't need to be there, right? I am, and some people think I'm a little crazy about this, but I am sold on the fact that if it doesn't have to do with real estate investing or building a business, I don't want to waste my time being around it. And I got a thumbs up there from Elizabeth, right? So, and some people think, man, you're boring. I'm like, I'm not boring. I don't think you understand what I'm trying to accomplish and how much bigger what I'm trying to accomplish is than just me, right? And so, I will get some TV time in. It's usually what the kids want to watch, right? For 30 minutes or an hour, but there is no news that happens on our TVs. There's no mainstream media. There's nothing like that. It's all about, if I'm not in there with a family and we're not doing something as a family, I'm typically in here in the office, and we're, building a business and growing our real estate portfolio. And all that comes from being around folks like you and Cindy and everybody else in the mastermind, because I know that when Tuesday night rolls around and you're like, all right, Jay, what's your update? Tell us your big win and what you got accomplished. And if I don't have those things done, I sit there with egg on my face and say, and try to make up excuses, but the reality of the situation means I just got distracted because I wasn't doing what I needed to do. Right. And you guys
Yeah,
hold me
and
accountable for that.
you bring a good point about, when you surround yourself with people that are doing what you want to do. um you know before joining the mastermind, at work, people were not really interested in real estate. Maybe one person from my job was investing, and
Yeah.
actually he became my mentor, and that's how I started investing. But besides that person, I didn't have really anybody else to talk about real estate. And now I feel like I have a family that, like you said, a family, um, friends that I can call, and I can, get advice from, like, hey, I am doing this. What do you think? What should I do? And that is the same with my meetup family,
Yeah.
the real estate people, because some of them have become my friends as well. And we call each other for advice, and we talked about partnering. So instead of surrounding yourself with people that are not with don't have the same goals, then you can surround yourself with other people. You can do it virtually through a mastermind, or you can do it in person through a meetup.
Yeah.
But you're gonna fill your days with more real estate, which is your goal. Hopefully, if you're you're in these calls and
If
trying
you're
to,
here, yeah.
yeah, if you're here, um, trying to do this, and the conversations are going to change. Like sometimes,
Yeah.
I would go to a reunion with other people, and they will be talking. The ladies would be talking about, hey, and this and the play date, and I'm like, and I would always go talk to the guys, like, what business are you guys talking about, you know so I kind of like went that way.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to talk about uh, diapers or purses or glasses or makeup.
Come on, that's where the fun's at. You bring up a good point though about, we're talking about real estate here, but where I got started, my first exposure to masterminds was not for a real estate investing mastermind. It was, I, you know, I was working a lot at my job at the time, and we just had baby number one, and I was like, all right, I don't feel like I'm being the husband and father that I need to be, right? So I joined a mastermind with like-minded men who felt the same way and wanted to improve on how they could be a better husband and better father, right? And the stuff that came out of that, I was like, holy crap, why isn't like a requirement for everybody to be part of a mastermind, for 12 months, and then if you want to shift, you can shift. But it was one of those things where, we would have challenges like, all right, it's Veterans Day, you have to take your family to a memorial park, and that was it. That was the challenge for the week, right, for Veterans Day or whatnot. And without that, I would have never done it. And without that, I would never have those memories and feelings and thoughts that we went as a family to visit the memorial park. And so correlate that to real estate, we challenge each other um, every week or every time we meet. And I've got to get out of saying every week, because now when we have calls, not every one of them are every week. So we've grown quite a bit here recently. So all good problems to have. But yeah, it's, I want to, I know we're talking about real estate, but I want to encourage you, if there is something that you want to, not you, Annette, but everybody listening or watching, if there is something in your life that you want to improve on, I can almost guarantee you that there is a mastermind for that. And it may not be one that's ongoing forever. It may, there are some masterminds that are temporary, that are, 60 to 90-day sprints, which is, in my opinion, it falls more closely into a coaching program, but they call it a mastermind or whatnot. But there are areas where, regardless of what you're looking forward to doing or improving on, there is a group out there for you, right? I don't know if there's like a
Absolutely.
Masterminds R Us website or something like that. You can probably Google it, um, but yeah, don't be afraid to take the action and get around those people because they're going to help you. I mean, that one helped me become a better husband, a better father. And then just like everything else, when you say yes to something, you have to say no to something else, right? So if you say yes to something new, you're going to say no to something old. And when I started thinking, okay, we've got young kids now, the local RIA is 45 minutes away. I don't like going there anyway, because even though I've been a member for a long period of time, I'm very much of an introvert, and I don't like being around a huge crowd of people that I don't know that well. And so I was like, all right, I feel like I can start this. I know Zoom. I was Zooming before it was cool, right? And and that's kind of the story of how we got started. And you know, it's so funny. Jamie and Gway talk about that first call that we had, and I didn't have Zoom set up correctly or whatever. They couldn't get in, and somehow they ended up texting each other and calling one another and just getting on a phone call and talking to one another. And then finally I sent a message out and says, okay, I got it fixed. You guys come back in. But it was just amazing to think, what those guys, what action they were willing to take just to be able to connect, right, with somebody else that was like that. And they're still around, and their passion is still just as hot, not for one another, but for taking action. You know what I mean? I think that came out wrong.
No, and I totally agree with that. Even some of the ladies in the mastermind, we decided one day, let's just get together. How about you guys? And when you join a mastermind, you are joining a group of doers. So when you tell them,
Yeah,
hey, how about you come to Florida in 2 weeks, they will show up.
that
So
happened. That
yeah,
happened with
it will
y'all.
happen. So I said, hey, why don't we get together? In a couple of weeks, I am free these 2 weekends. And they are like, okay. In 2 weeks later, we were in Florida. We even did a meetup when COVID was still going and nobody was meeting. So we did like a mini meetup with the local people. So, and it's contagious. It's contagious because you see people doing stuff that you didn't think it was possible, that
Yeah,
you could never imagine yourself doing this. And all of a sudden, um, you know, you see people that that are doing it. So you're like, you know what? Maybe I can do it too. And then you ask questions, you get answers, and all of a sudden, something that you thought was impossible becomes a maybe. And then all of a sudden, it becomes possible because you start executing and you start asking questions, and then it happens. So,
yeah.
it really is an amazing process of seeing things that you thought were impossible become possible.
Yeah, and something you just made me think of is most of us, especially if you're on this call, you have some sort of competitive side to you. You may have grew up playing some sports or whatnot, maybe even had some success at the college level or whatnot. And after that, what do you compete for? Right. And one of the things that really drives me every week as I come on and I see all these people in the mastermind outperforming me when it becomes on the real estate investing, and I'm like, damn it. Like, it just drives me even more to want to do a deal. And I had to be careful with that though. Cause well, let me back up. Everybody's investing criteria is different, right? And everybody's market that they invest in is different. We've got some people in the mastermind where it's overlapping and they work well together. But that's the thing about the competition side. It's a friendly competition, right? And everybody's willing to help out everybody. Um, One of the things that I am amazed and I'm also jealous of is all the deals that happen in the background with mastermind members, right? And they're like, and I'll get wind of it and I'll hear things down the road. We're like, yeah, we did this, we did that. And I'm like, hell yeah, that's what it's about. Damn it, where was I? Why wasn't I invited? Kind of feel like left out of the party, but it's about seeing you guys succeed, in the action takers and the people who are willing to jump in and do this are the people who are doing the most deals, right? And I absolutely love it.
And also there is a component of sharing when things don't go the right way, right? Like the
Yeah.
mistakes.
No, it's
Last
all
week,
rainbow and unicorns.
yeah,
No,
it's not
it's
always rainbow and
nothing ever goes
unicorns.
wrong.
Yeah, so last week we were sharing some of the things that didn't go well, at least for me. And I was sharing with people, and I was challenged. So what would you do different, right? It's not just
Yeah.
okay, we're all mopping because it didn't go my way, but let's talk about how can you not make that same mistake next time, and let's
Right.
analyze this and see what can we change to make it better next time.
Yep.
So
No,
it
absolutely.
is awesome.
That's we do a lot of lessons learned and self assessing, right? When it comes to that.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So one of the things that I love about masterminds, there's masterminds, like you said, where one person is talking and they are giving the lesson and everybody's listening, and then maybe once a month they go on the hot seat, or some masterminds are once a month as well for 12 months. um, I love the fact that at least I get to do it weekly because it keeps me
Yeah.
going. There's a lot of times where I don't want to do stuff, but like you said, I know my call is on Tuesday and I gotta get something done. Like if I'm gonna show up, I need to do something.
Yeah.
But I think also a lot of the value comes in meeting with a lot of people that are doing different strategies, and you're learning from all of them.
Yeah.
So, and even though maybe somebody's talking about wholesaling, you can take some part of that wholesaling and what they are doing, and then you can apply it to your buy and hold business. And somebody's investing in notes, and then you understand how that works, and then you make a seller financing deal, and then you hold the note. So we are exposing ourselves to all these different strategies from different members, and even people doing the same strategy applying it in a different way, and you learn all these secrets and tips, and it's incredible, the value that you get from a mastermind. And I'm sure every mastermind will have different value depending on how it's structured.
Yeah.
um, but one thing that I want to say, like, I was never a reader, and being part of the mastermind and having a book club made me read a lot more than what I would normally do. And so I have to say that we're always reading a book as well as doing the
We are.
challenges and growing.
Yeah. And it's so a couple things you pointed out there is the habit forming of getting in used to meeting every Tuesday. And then, we have a Thursday night call as well that meets weekly. And this year, unfortunately, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve fell on Thursday. So we didn't have those meetings. We canceled those meetings. And I'm sitting there Christmas Eve, getting ready for Santa to come. And I'm like, this just feels weird. Like I know it's Thursday and I know what I've been doing for the last, I don't know how long we've been doing Thursday night call. And then the next week goes by, I was like, we should have had the call. Surely nobody, no, I mean, who's out watching fireworks at like 8 o'clock at night? I mean, maybe some people are, but I just felt so lost, and then the next week comes by and I'm like, it's my friends. I haven't seen you in so long. Well, welcome. Glad to see you. I'm so excited. But it's funny. I truly missed those meetings, and as I'm looking at the calendar for next year, I don't think we have any of that going on. But um, one of the things that I get asked all the time is, you know, how much time commitment. You're talking about the book club that we have, and all the stuff that we have going on, is how much time commitment is required, right? Typically, when that I get asked that, I typically just tune out because I know instantly if you're worried about that, you're not going to be a good fit because we're going to challenge you. You're going to come in. It's, a lot of times, and depending on the situation, we'll let people slide. But I don't like whining and complaining. Life is life. Get over it. You're here for a reason, and it's not just to come in and complain about how hard your week was, right? We're going to get that out of you. We're going to shape and mold you eventually and get that out of you. And it's one of those things where it's a total mindset shift, right? I feel like I am being a little bitch when it comes to the 75 hard stuff, and I am. But you guys are keeping me accountable to keep at it, right? And if it weren't for y'all, that wouldn't be happening. But anyway, that one of the other thing that I get asked a lot is, hey, I'm a newbie, I don't have any experience, right? How do I come in to a group of, and the assumption is everybody in the group has experience, and that's not the case, right? There are people who are aspiring, they're trying to get their first deal done, and when they get that deal done, we're going to celebrate massively with them because we know how hard they've worked and how hard we've been able to push them to really be able to get that deal done. And the thing is, I want everybody that comes in to provide value, right? Whether it's based on your experience, or if you're a newbie, the value that you bring is going to be your questions, right? And there is such thing as a dumb question. I don't like the other side of that comment. I don't like there is no such thing as a dumb question. I believe there is, and dumb people ask them, right? But if you're in a mastermind, you're not a dumb person, right? You're taking advantage of resources that you have exposure to improve yourself. Dumb people don't do that, right? And when you ask those questions that you think are the newbiest of newbie questions, for those folks who have been through it before, you're helping them out, because one of the best ways to learn is to teach about experiences you've gone through. So it's a completely reciprocal relationship there. Ask your, air quote, dumb question, allow the people who have the experience to answer it for you. You're going to get the knowledge that they've been through it before. They get to relive the experience and tell you in a different way than maybe they've told it before, to make it more clear, right? And it's totally reciprocal. So, there is a process to get into most masterminds, right? You have to have, there is certain criteria. Not everybody gets in. There are masterminds where you can get in, right? You just go pay a fee and that's it. And you're joined up. But we used to do that. We don't do that anymore. Because
that's how I got in. Thank you.
No. This was
no, you still had to do a live video in the group, which to me was so scary. Like I've never done live videos, and I had to introduce myself to the group, and not knowing what to expect because I've never been in a mastermind. I was so scared I think I recorded that thing like 5 or 6 times before I sent it.
But look at you now. You go live all the time, and it's no big deal, right? I mean, it's just one of those things that comes with practice. The point I want to make is with any mastermind that you're looking to get access into, regardless if it's about real estate investing or some other area of your life that you want to join, if they just take you based on you've got a credit card and you can swipe it, be wary of that. I'm not saying they're all bad. I'm just saying that they may not be the best fit for you.
Absolutely. And I think, you are going to find out really quick if the mastermind is good for you. Like you're gonna kind of feel if you like the people. If it's, I don't know, if it's a mastermind where like people curse a lot and you're not a person that likes that, then you're gonna quickly realize, okay, this is not for me.
Yeah.
And with every subject, if you are like really loud and and the people are super quiet, then you're not gonna feel it. But I think one other thing that I love is watching others grow in the group. When I started, I was watching people starting their first deals, and now they are doing more, and seeing that transformation. And obviously when you're seeing that, you are also trying to do the same. You're trying to catch up. And so tell us about that.
Yeah. And I can't say this for every mastermind that's out there, but I because I don't know their numbers, but I can tell you the people who have been in the W2 Capitalist Mastermind for at least a year, their portfolios doubled, right? 80% of the members who have, let me restate that, 80% of the members who have been in the mastermind for at least a year, their portfolios have doubled, right? At least. In some cases, it's been way more than that. And if I wanted to really justify the numbers and say 100%, that 20% that did not, I can almost identify every person who was not very active, right? They were not attending the calls regularly. They were not doing the things they were wanting, saying they wanted to get done. And they just weren't involved in the group and in the book club, right? So you're going to get out of it, any mastermind, what you put into it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, that's one of the things, like I wasn't, and I am not actually an avid reader. I love to study. I love to learn about things that I am interested in, but I was never a reader. Like I would never pick up a book. And, in the last 2 years being in the mastermind, I've read more books than in my entire life. And yeah, it's true. It's true.
Come on, Annette. We only do like one book a month, if that.
But I'm telling you, like, if I read one book a year, that's too much. Like, I did not read unless I had to.
Yeah.
I just
All right.
didn't.
So you were an average American up until you joined the mastermind, as far as your reading goes.
As
That's
far
good.
as the
That's
reading
good.
goes, yes. And now, I got my next book here. I don't know if you can see it. It's hard to see with this thing, but
Yeah.
I'm listening to stuff on Audible, and then I have my books. I take notes. It's all different. You get to see other people doing awesome things, and then you want to do it too. Like I said, it's contagious.
It's contagious. Yeah. Earlier when you said contagious, it was right. You said something about COVID, and then you said contagious. I was like, well, yeah, it is contagious. Anyway, I know that's not what you meant.
So Elizabeth Miller is asking, what's a recent book you've read? So personally, I am listening right now to the book by David Greeny, the Bigger Pockets one, How to Invest Long Distance Real Estate Investing. Just because I had an experience where it didn't go too well, so I am trying to learn it the right way. But the next one is High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. That's what I'm doing next, and I know the book club. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, that one. That's my next one. Super excited about it. I mean, we've done in the mastermind many books that, Barking at the Wrong Tree, that book I loved. And I was like, what is this book about? Barking at the Wrong Tree. The one about negotiating. What was that?
Never Split the Difference by Chris
Never
Voss.
Split the Difference.
Yeah.
I mean, we had really, really good books that, we use. Once you learn it, the one about habits. There was another one about habits that we read.
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits. I love that one as well. So it really is amazing.
Elizabeth is a book nerd.
I guess Elizabeth should be on our mastermind.
I know. Hamad, I keep hearing about this Who Not How book. I've got to put it on my list now. That might actually be the third time I've seen that today.
Yeah, just partway through it, but it's really, really good. It's a philosophy I've had for a long time anyways, but it's really good to read through it. It's very reinforcing, at least for me. But
all right, add it to my list.
Absolutely. Love it. All right. So, if you guys want to, put questions, you can put them on the chat, or if you want, you can raise your hand and then ask the questions. But so what do you think? We have Tanya that has a question. You can unmute. Go ahead.
Hello. How's everybody doing? How are you doing?
Good.
Okay. I live in Virginia. I wanted to ask a quick question to you and Jay. I have 3 questions, but I'm just going to ask my most important question. So I wanted to know because I don't want Jay to think it's a stupid question. So I wanted to know, do you guys do real estate full time, or do you work a 9 to 5 like me? And if you don't, when did you know that you could quit your job? Because I really would like to do real estate full time. I know I can't do it now because I haven't gotten started, but my desire is to do it full time. So I just wanted to know, do you do it full time, or do you still work your 9 to 5 and do real estate on the side?
I will let Jay answer first.
Okay, thank you. So I am now full time officially. I was laid off May 1st last year from or 2020 for COVID. Yeah, that was last year. With the idea that and that's the whole point of the W2 capitalist branding, right? Is that you can work full-time job that you love and you can still invest in real estate. And but corporate America had other plans, and it was one of those things we had built our rental portfolio up enough that we didn't need to. Matter of fact, when I got the call from my boss, I even asked him. I said, "Look, I don't need a paycheck. Like, I could, if you want to, if we're negotiating here," I said, I can go 6 months without a paycheck, but I'll do it in exchange for stock in the company, as publicly traded company." And he was like, "Yeah, I appreciate the offer, but this is much bigger than just you." And I was like, "Oh, tell me more." He goes, "I can't do that. You're my first call because you're my first direct report." Turns out over 50 people were laid off. Half the team that I was managing was laid off. And it's been that kick in the butt. And I mean, of course I moped around, right, for a couple of days because I was pissed off that competitive side of me. It was like some other guy got to keep his job and I got laid off, whatever. But then I got my head on straight and I was like, this is an opportunity I've been wanting for a long time that I never had the courage to make it. So Tanya, if you can make it yourself, absolutely. Your question though, let me get back to your question. When did I know, right? When did I know to do that? So we were long overdue, but it was basically when our cash flow from our rental properties covered our monthly expenses, then that was kind of our ticket. But I had transitioned into a job where I was making 6 figures, great benefits, easiest job I've ever had. It was kind of hard to just turn down, or kind of to leave. So, plus I had been in corporate America for 20 something years and it was my comfort blanket. Right. And I didn't want to let it go.
Yeah.
So for us, it was when our expenses were covered by our rental properties.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so for me, Tanya, I am still working my W-2, but I work part-time, and I replace part of my income with real estate. I do property management. So, half of my income comes from property management, and then I still have my job as an architect. But I do have my goal by my next birthday to finally quit my job. So I am pursuing that. And the way that it's going to happen is when I can replace that income as well.
Great. Okay, thank you.
All right.
You said you had 2 other questions. What were they?
Yes, the other 2 were, how do you feel about having partners? Because my parents always believed in owning rental property. And, my dad passed back in the 90s when I graduated high school, and my mother passed in 2011. So they had rental property, and they gave each property to a sibling, but they put another sibling's name on all the properties. So I share one of the properties with my lovely sister. We never agree on anything. We're always arguing. So I just let her, do her thing. And it's, they're all free and clear. They're all are all cash flowing single family properties in North Carolina, but we're constantly going at each other. So the way I keep the tension down is just by letting her handle everything and being the boss, being the accountant, being the secretary, being the rental person. That's how I keep the commotion down. I don't like having partners. So I was curious how you guys feel about having partners. And my other question, my last question was, how do you get started in real estate with no money and bad credit? Because when I purchased my home I live in now in 2013, 3.785 interest rate, great credit, driving a beautiful Infinity truck. Now the taxes keep going up. My payment keeps going up. I find myself always a month behind. I can't refinance because I can't pay for 6 months on time, and I'm trying to work that out. And then I don't have any extra money to invest in real estate because I'm really basically maintaining, even though I have a 6-figure job and I think I'm budgeting well and I'm, removing everything that I don't need monthly. I'm really just maintaining. I joke around with my family. I think I'm so successful. I have a beautiful home, a great job, but I say I'm not successful. I am one paycheck away from being on the street. All I am doing is maintaining my $2,500 mortgage, my $400 car, taking care of my 2 boys. I'm just maintaining. I don't want to maintain anymore. I really have a passion for real estate and I really want to get out there, and my dream is to own an apartment complex. So as I'm always looking at her page, I saw she just acquired, I was like, oh my gosh, she's got an apartment complex. I can do that too. So I just really feel passionate about real estate and really want to get more involved, but I'm not in a position right now.
I can sense the passion in your voice. Like I can tell that is really something you want to go after. Can I be blunt with you?
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
Please don't call me sir.
I mean, I know you will. Yes.
I appreciate it. So you're telling yourself a lie in one of 2 areas. Number 1, your budgeting is off. Or number 2, you're not as dedicated as you think you want to be, because if it were, then you would be making moves to set yourself up to be able to invest.
Okay.
Financially. Right.
Okay.
But back to your original question, partners. I have never partnered with a family member, probably never will. It's just, I have an amazing family. They don't understand real estate investing. They don't get it. It probably never is going to be an issue for me because I'm not going to push the button. Right. And other partners, it has to be, you got to know the person, you got to vet them out. You got to know them really, really well. I have a rule, that I don't partner with anybody unless I know them for at least 6 months. And it's not like we have one call today and then 6 months later we have a second call. That's not what I'm talking about. I got to know you, right? I got to know who you are, what you're about, because when crap hits the fan, and it sometimes does, I need to know that you're going to go to battle with me and not against me. You know what I'm saying? So 2 things there. I think partnerships, you gotta vet them out. You don't jump into bed with just anybody, so to speak. And then, and I hear you about living paycheck to paycheck. I used to be there too. Before we started investing, we were living paycheck to paycheck. I was making right over 6 figures at that point in time. And we figured out a way to make it work. We got really, really tight on our budget. We, you mentioned the house that you're in. Property values almost everywhere have increased. I don't know when you bought yours or kind of what your situation was, but if you can make enough payments on time to refinance and do a cash out refinance, or what I prefer is a home equity line of credit to get you some cash to get started with. That's how we got started from that. Because we didn't have any cash there either. And that anything, we didn't have any cash when we started until we did that. And that
I would tighten down on my budget. Thank you. I'm writing this down.
Okay.
Yeah. When my husband and I decided to go into real estate, we really, really tied our budget. Like Jay said, like we would not go out for dinner like every week, like we do now, which we shouldn't, but we do. We would go out like once a month as a treat. And every time that we wanted to buy something, we would be like, do we really need this? Or we just want it? And if the answer was, do we really need it? Then we would not buy it if we really didn't need it, because you don't need to have 2 of whatever, you only need really 1, or, whatever
Right.
the case may be. So we really cut our budget, and we would go out for dinner with friends and we would just order appetizers. We wouldn't drink, because, for example, drinking at dinner, that's when your check goes up a lot. Drink water instead of soda. just small things like if you buy coffee every day, make the
Yeah.
coffee in your house. We would bring lunch to work instead of eating out. And
Thank-
my office had a lot of lunch and learns, so if there were leftovers, we would pack it for the next day, and then I didn't have to cook, so we had lunch at the office. So like small things like that, that will help you with your budget. Definitely, I would do that. With in regards to the house, maybe you could rent it and then move to somewhere that is a little bit smaller.
I
That
thought
way
about
you
that.
are
Yes.
able to do the payments on time for the 6 months. I would, if you have enough equity, I would refinance instead of a HELOC right now, just
Okay.
because
Oh
um,
yeah.
the
Excellent point.
interest rates are very low right now,
Okay.
and you're going to get a really low rate. And also HELOCs have variable interest, and right now in the economy, variable interest could be a little bit risky. So I would try to do a refinance instead of a HELOC, although I love HELOCs. I have a HELOC on my house. But that's how I bought my third property as well. I just used that money as my down payment. um,
Great.
I would try to refinance. Or maybe, if you have extra room in your house, you could
I do.
Airbnb the room, or rent
I do.
rent one of
I
the
have 5
rooms.
bedrooms.
Hmm.
Okay. I will take into consideration what you two said. I will buckle more down on my budget because before I bought this house, I lived in my sister's rental home with the same sister. I lived in one of her rental homes because she had rental homes, and I paid $850 for like from 2005 to 2013. And one day I just woke up and said I wanted to buy my own house, and I talked to my 2 boys, and they said we can't buy anything for 6 months, no sneakers, no PlayStation games, no. I said, we got to buckle down. I want to buy my house. And they kept saying, why? We live in Aunt Nellie's house. I said, I want my own house. And I literally did
Yeah.
what you said. I pinched pennies. I saved every dime. I worked extra hours, and I didn't think I was going to get approved. And I called someone, he approved me, and he said, you're going to move in on this date. And I'm like, no, I'm not. That's 2 weeks from now. I haven't packed anything. And he said, and then he called back and said, well, no, this is your move-in date. And I said, no, that is a week. And I don't have nothing packed. I literally had to dump that big thing in my driveway and load it and move it to the new driveway. That's how fast it moved. And I had $10,000 at closing. I had 16, but I only needed 10. So I was ready to go. So I'm going to take what you said and go over my budget and start all over again and talk to my boys again and say, we're going to do the same thing again, because I really want to buy a rental property for myself without a partner.
And I would really encourage you to join a meetup group.
Okay.
Those, they are free. You can look up one in your area. They meet normally once a
Okay.
month.
Thank
Or
you.
join a mastermind.
Okay. I wrote it down. Thank you for your time. I know other people want to ask questions. Thank you so much.
One last thing, Tanya, before we get away, and this is, are you familiar with Dave Ramsey?
Yes, I've heard that name before.
Okay. So one of the things I love to do is troll Dave on Facebook because because of the stuff, he's the guy that, no debt whatsoever and you're going to get rich. And I'm like, that's not how it happens for 90% of Americans. But his system, though, we started out that way. And I think Cindy, who's on here, did too. And he's got these baby steps, right, that help you get out of debt. And it's what the way I refer to it now is he's the guy, his system will help get the train back on the tracks. But once it's back on the tracks, you got to abandon that whole thought process and start investing. So that's one of the things one of the tools that I use. Now, if you look him up and you Google him, he's going to have, I think it's 6 or 7, what he calls baby steps.
Okay.
After baby step number 3, if you've accomplished down to baby step number 3, it's time to jump off the train and go do your own thing and forget what he's talking about. But it's a really good, way to right the ship, so to speak.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. So if anybody has any other questions, you can raise your hand and I'm going to put it on gallery view. If you want to ask questions, you can put it on the chat, or you can just raise your hand and ask. Okay. So Anja, Tanya, I got you already. Okay, good. All right, Jay. So,
Yes.
how are you seeing the mastermind grow in the future?
Great question. So this year, it's funny because so we started out 2020 with one call, which happened 4 times in the month, right? It was a weekly call. And now we are doing, and it was a general session, which means if you had a niche or didn't matter experience level.
I think it was every 2 weeks, actually, Jay. It was every
Was
2
it every
weeks.
2 weeks?
I think it was every 2 weeks. Because I
We've
always
changed it up
forgot
so
about
much.
it. I always forgot about it because it wasn't every week. I kept missing it.
But now, now we have grown to the point where we have 22 meetings a month. And just a couple months ago, we introduced what I call Mastermind VPs, just to keep with the W2 capitalist theme, to where it's guys who are focused on a particular niche. So there's a multifamily call, there's a single family buy and hold call, there's a flipping wholesaling call, and then there is the mobile home park call, and as well as the general sessions, right? So if you want very niche specific information and be around those group of folks, there's a call for that. So I didn't start out 2020 thinking that's where we're going to end 2020. And when we made that expansion, it made just for a lot more room for people to fill those spots, because we want to keep the calls, relatively short's not the right word, because sometimes we go long because we like to talk and we like to be around each other's company. But it expanded and allowed us to open up more spots for the mastermind. And I see that continuing to grow to 2021. I would love to see it double, right? We're at 55 members. If we were at 100 members by the end of the year, I would be impressed. I would seriously be impressed. I'd be excited because we're helping that many more people, right?
Yeah. And, Jay sounds really nice right now, but when you are not doing your job, he's going to tell you like it is. So it's not only do we get encouragement, but he sends us to the corner when we're not performing.
I don't know about that. Well, I'll take your word for it. I understand that and I do this. So I also coach people, for various things. And on the mastermind calls, while I try my best to play the role of the moderator, but that coaching comes out, right? And I try to coach people, and sandbaggers just bother me, where they're like, I think I can reach out to 5 potential investors this week. 5? One a week or one a day? Or one, they're like, yeah, one a day. It's like, well, there's 7 days in a week. So we're talking about 7, we're talking about 10. What are we doing here? So I do like to push people because they don't really know what they're capable of doing. Right. And they're telling themselves, and I'm just as guilty as any of them, of telling myself a story of, hey, I can't do this, or I can only do this much. And that's why I'm in other masterminds. And that's why I have my coaches, because I want to be pushed. I want them to tell me that, no, you can actually do more. You just don't know it yet.
Right. So we have a question from Mariana. She's asking, what are the requirements to join your mastermind?
So, Mariana, we have the very first thing you got to do is take a quiz. It takes about 5 minutes to go and answer. I forget how many questions are in there, but that is the first hurdle. And based on how you answer those questions is basically the requirement. It depends, right? It depends on what you're looking for. And I'll give you a little hint. I don't tell people this. I don't know that I've ever made this public, but I'm looking for people who are committed and ready to go, energized and ready to go, right? They're ready to make a change in their life, and they're ready to be around the people who are going to help make that happen. And there are some questions in there based on your experience. I don't pay attention to them. I'm looking for how you answer your commitment and your dedication, right? And your willingness to participate and be in there. And that's it. That's step number 1. That's it. It's not too bad. It's not too hard.
Yeah, it is not too hard. After all, I am there. But I definitely have to say, Jay, that when I say that you send us to the corner, sometimes we do need that push. Like, like I was sharing at the beginning, and I don't know if everybody was listening at that point. Some people were joining. I was about to, launch the podcast, and now is more than 50 episodes, but I was wanting to do it, and I'm gonna do it this week and then next week and the following. And then Jay was like, Annette, just do it.
Just
Just
do it.
do it. And that was the little push that I needed to just get it done. If I wasn't in the mastermind, probably I would have been 3 more months before I did it, because you know, you always like to say, Jay, it's better done than perfect, right?
Yes. Progress over perfection.
Progress over perfection. And whatever you do, the podcast, a book, whatever you do, it's going to get better with time. With the books, you have a new edition. They always release the new edition where they correct it and fix it and improve it. With the podcast, you're going to keep growing and keep changing it and adding this and removing that. Even with the mastermind, it started in a way and it progressed. So if he waited for this mastermind to be perfect, maybe you would still be trying and testing instead of
Yeah.
having a mastermind with like more than 50 people in it. So
Yeah.
sometimes you just need to do it and start, and then you keep changing it and adjusting it as you go. And as you go, you keep going and doing it.
Tweak, test, and polish, right?
Absolutely. And I love that about the mastermind, because sometimes you get this crazy idea like, guys, I want to do that. And then people are like, yeah, do this and try that. And you get with a group of people that are willing to share their knowledge and help you succeed. And that is something that to me had to be a big change in my mindset, because I was used to the competition at the workplace where people didn't want to share their secrets because you were going to take their job. So you have to always kind of go solo and you have to figure things out, because people were not willing to share with you what they knew. And when I joined the mastermind, I realized how much people were willing to share with you what they knew and the knowledge and the mistakes and how not to make these mistakes. And, the value of all the people in the mastermind is amazing. I always make a point to connect individually with every member of the mastermind, even if they are not on my same call, because now we have multiple calls. So I don't get to talk to everybody. But we have a private group where everybody is a member of, and then we do the book club there. And we get to connect with everybody. Every time that there is a new member, the new member is introduced and everybody gets to say hi. And they have to do a video, the famous video. So you get to get to know them a little bit, and then you can reach out and connect. So I love that about the mastermind, that you get to connect with all kinds of people.
Mariana, when I mentioned having other businesses before, those were failed attempt at businesses. I don't have any other income that comes in for other businesses. My wife has a home decor business. That's the only other income that we have coming in, if that makes sense. But yeah, sorry, I was not clear about that.
So, for those that are not reading, the question was, do you mentioned other businesses, and do you use those funds to do real estate? That was the question. All
What
right.
else?
Okay, guys, if there is no other questions, I don't see any other questions. Jay, how can people find you online? And if they want to join the mastermind, please let everybody know where.
Yeah, the best place, the landing page for it all is w2capitalist.com. The links to the podcast, the community, social media, all that stuff. All my contact information is there.
Yeah, I guess
w2capitalist.com.
I didn't mention on the introduction on your bio that you have also a podcast, W2 Capitalist. And,
Yeah.
when I was telling you guys, when you see people that you look up to doing something and then you want to do it, that's an example. Actually, at the beginning of my journey, I think you, Jay, asked me like if I was gonna do a podcast, and I was like, no way, like there's no way, I don't want to do it, like I don't think so, my accent, blah blah blah. And then, I started doing these little live videos, and I got more comfortable with doing live videos and talking on the camera. And at the same time, I'm watching Jay doing his podcast. So that kind of encouraged me and changed my mindset from there's no way I'm going to do it, nobody's going to like it, to my friend is doing it, I guess I can do it. Why don't I try it? And then, it happens. So, that happens when you are constantly talking to like-minded people and with people that are doing what you want to do, and in this case, it's real estate. Oh, thank you, Mariana. She loves my accent. Honestly, I was really worried about it. And then people were telling me, I love your live videos. And, they are so informative and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I guess if people like it and they don't mind my accent, I should be okay.
See, you're telling yourself a story that wasn't true.
Yeah. And Tanya, you were saying like, I don't think I can do it. Like you need to change that mindset and, just say, I can do it. How can I do it? What's the next step for me to get there? All right, everybody. Thank you so much, Jay, for being here today. Like I said, it's an honor to have you here. You have been a big part of my growth as an investor, and I really appreciate it. So thank you for sharing with us about the Mastermind. I really wanted to share with everybody because it has made a big difference in my growth. So thank you.
That is awesome. We're trying to help as many people as we can. So thank you for that. Thank you for having me. And it is no longer a secret.
It is no longer a secret. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And good night, everybody.
This was Real Estate Deal Closers with Anette Talie, brought to you by Talie Investments. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. Our goal is to provide amazing value on your real estate journey. Connect online at www.talieinvestments.com, where you can find this episode and more. Did you like this episode? Subscribe, like, and share.